Mr. President, thank you. I rise to speak about the same subject that my colleague from Delaware just raised and so many others before him, and it is bipartisan. This loan program, which we've had the luxury, I guess, all these years of relying upon, has allowed us to say that as a country, we value higher learning. We value that for no matter what family you're from, what level of income. That we believe not only in the context, as I've often said, of early learning when someone's at the beginning of their learning years, but much later when they're in the years of higher education, that they can learn more now and earn more later. That linkage, that direct nexus between learning and earning is a substantial factor in whether or not someone can have the kind of job and career and success in their life. But for a lot of folks, the cost of college, as so many have outlined today, becomes an impossible or a barrier over which they cannot climb, and especially if they're low income. So all they're asking for is a fair shot at learning, a fair shot at going to an institution of higher education. And we know that this program has meant so much not only to folks across the country, but when you look state by state and examine the number of students, the number of families that are affected now, it's extraordinary. Whether you're talking about the presiding officer's home state of Colorado or Senator Coons and his constituents in Delaware or Connecticut or Wisconsin or Ohio, wherever we are, we can see the numbers. In Pennsylvania, 40,000 students today are beneficiaries of the Perkins Loan Program. We're told as well that this isn't just a program that affects all different income levels. This is a program which is designed and has benefited those who are most needy. We're told that a quarter of the recipients are from families with incomes of less than $30,000. The maximum loan amount per student is $5,500. Now, if you're going to a school where it costs $45,000 or $50,000 or $60,000, that may not seem like a lot, but for a lot of students who are not at institutions that are so high in cost, that is a big, big number, or a fraction of that number is a big number. If you're going to graduate school, you could get up to $8,000 from the Perkins Loan Program. It's a 10-year repayment period, and as the senator from Ohio pointed out, it's a revolving fund. So as one student is paying their Perkins loan back over 10 years, another student is benefiting from that revolving fund. We've all had individuals in our states. I've talked a couple of times when I was home last week about Nikki Izzolo. Nikki's a recent graduate of Edinburgh University, had a long and difficult pathway through her higher education years. She's a single mom. She was in school and then out of school. When she finally got through school and had the benefit of a Perkins loan, among other things she said is the following, in talking about her own circumstances as a single mom. She said, quote, "I'm proud to be a college grad, and my daughter is proud of me too." And she said, "I'm so grateful for getting the Perkins loan to help me. I know that I wouldn't be where I am right now," meaning with a job after graduating from Edinburgh, and I pick up the quotation from here, "I would not be where I am right now without it, and this is a really scary thought." So she's thinking about where she would have been without a Perkins loan. Where she would have been is highly likely out of school and therefore not working. And the job she got is with a major company in our state. So that's Nikki. I also mentioned on the floor a couple of weeks ago, and I won't repeat it, but I just want to remind folks of her name, Kayla McBride. She's a recent graduate of Temple University in Philadelphia. So you have one corner of the state, Philadelphia, all the opposite corner that Nikki went to at Edinburgh University. But Kayla at Temple indicated she received a Perkins loan to help with tuition after her mother was laid off. Then we have another example, someone I met during the break, right near my hometown. We were meeting with students all across the state about this issue. One of them was in Wilkes-Barre. His name was Anthony Fanucci. He's a student body president and a senior at Wilkes University in Wilkes-Barre. Anthony's father works overtime to pay for his tuition, and Anthony works every weekend and 2 jobs over the summer. His Perkins loan helped him stay in school. I met Anthony, and he spoke that day in public. Among the things that he said was the following, quote, "My strengths got me to Wilkes College," or Wilkes University, I should say, "but without financial funding, your strengths and your resume and what you've done before that mean nothing. I never, ever seek pity for my financial situation because my financial situation is far from rare," unquote. He's talking about so many students out there who face a fork in the road at some point. If they have Perkins, they can likely stay in school. If they don't have Perkins, many of them, far too many, will not be able to continue their higher education. Now, we know the program expired on September the 30th, and here's what it means here's the practical implications for students. No new students can receive loans, and while current recipients are, quote, grandfathered for 5 years, there's uncertainty because we've never been in this circumstance where there's the program expired and we don't know exactly what will happen with regard to the implementation of any kind of new changes or new policy by the administration. It's important to note that some will not be benefiting from the grandfathering provision. A student would not be grandfathered if they do one of the following: if they change their major, if they alter their course of study, or if they transfer. Now, one of the, and I should also mention the cutoff for the grandfathering was June the 30th of this year. Now let's just consider one of those circumstances. If they change their major, we're told by a recent study in our state that 75% of students will change their major at some point in their years in college. Let's say that's 50%, or frankly 33%. Whatever the number is, that's a lot of students changing their major and thereby maybe taking themselves out of the protection of that grandfathering provision for Perkins loan now that we're in the period after it has expired. Financial aid officials who have written to us talk about other circumstances. I won't read a full letter, but in one letter we got from a financial aid official, quote, they talked about, quote, significant changes in families' financial circumstances, unquote, and, quote, unexpected financial difficulties, unquote. So that's the real world of real students in real families without Perkins, or at least with the uncertainty with regard to Perkins. Neither, in my judgment, is acceptable. Not having an extension, a one-year extension of the Perkins Loan Program makes no sense to me, and I think a lot of students. If we had an extension, we could debate if someone wanted to make changes or debate the elements of the program. But having it expire makes no sense. But even if the expiration doesn't definitively impact you, the uncertainty about that should not be part of a college student's experience. They should at least have the certainty to know while they're studying, while they're getting through their coursework, especially as freshmen, they should have the certainty or at least the expectation that it would continue to help them. So I think in summary, we should, number one, continue to work together in a bipartisan fashion to solve this problem. The good news here is that despite the partisan rancor and divisions in Washington and in the Senate and the House, on this we have broad bipartisan support. Something on the order of 28 co-sponsors. At last count, six are Republicans. So we've got folks in both parties working on this. And we all believe, I think, that we have an obligation to do everything we can to support higher education. No student should have to drop out of college because Congress has not done its job. And we have more work to do on this, and I would urge those who have concerns about it or want to have another point of view be debated here. I hope we could we could work together to get through this impasse and get the Perkins loan at least extended for one more year, as was done in the House most recently by voice vote. And with that, Mr. President, I would yield the floor.